Okay, so let's talk about what was discussed in your breakout rooms. One, how does the film relate to themes covered so far during the semester? So what connection did you find between material that we've covered in course or in class and the happenings of the film itself? What work did religion, Christianity in this case, do for African subjugation? How did African spirituality aid in African liberation? And then finally, what stood out to you most about the film? How does it problematize normative films that deal with African enslavement? Who would like to share what was talked about in your breakout room?
I can go.
Okay.
I thought that like for question three, I think in terms of other movies about African enslavement, African American enslavement, they tend to kind of um, just like dump a ton of trauma and not really put any substance to it. There's a lot of not looking at the impact of ancestors, I guess. Um, and that's something that like this film did.
Yeah. So another way to kind of think about what Story is mentioning, right, is a lot of these films, when you're talking about enslavement or the experience of enslavement for African people, they deal in what I call trauma porn, right? It's just trauma for trauma's sake, and they really don't have any contextualization behind the trauma, or as Zuri puts it, any substance behind the trauma. Whereas this film does a great job of providing context. As he mentions, it deals with the ancestors and ancestral lineage. So yeah, I think it makes the African people more actional, whereas other films that deal with enslavement kind of paint African people out to be, docile in the way that they process their enslavement. Who else would like to discuss what was talked about in their breakout rooms? Michelle Morales, what's talked about in your group?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Hear you? Yep.
Um, we were talking about the film, and someone in my group answered the first question.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just talked about how like it could tie to another movie we've watched, but I haven't really watched another movie about slavery, so
So
that's all.
what film did you tie it to in your conversation?
Well, we didn't tie any because we didn't really like watch another movie.
Okay.
We
So
had, yeah.
what themes did you connect the film to? So what conversations in class related to what was covered in the film?
Oh, I didn't really catch that from someone, what they said about the
So
theme.
did you watch the film?
I wasn't able to watch it.
Okay. Alfonso, how about you? What was discussed in your group?
We're talking about how like religion was used in the movie, and that the enslaved people, they were tricked, and they're like told that they didn't have souls, and therefore God didn't like care about them. So I thought that was like really messed up.
Yeah. Did you guys talk about the role of African spirituality at all?
No, I don't think we did.
Did anybody discuss the role of African spirituality in the film?
My group didn't.
Okay, what did you guys talk about in your group, Zuri?
Oh no, I'm saying my group didn't.
Didn't. Okay, I'm sorry.
Hi, Professor. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Sorry, I'm in the library and it sounds kind of loud. But I didn't get a chance to read the film, but I read the little review and it was talking about how someone from the movie was trying to go to church every single day to prove to himself and to prove to others. And I guess we could tie that back into how Christianity kind of like like we didn't take it naturally. Like it's like we had no choice but to go to church, and that it's just been like passed on for generations.
So for those who've seen the film, right? For right now, for some reason, his name is escaping me, but Nunu, right, is the African Akan priestess, her stepson, if you will, because we know that he's a byproduct of rape, right? He's the character that Michelle is talking about, who is torn. He's not even torn, really, right? He's trying to place himself at the foot of Christianity. And it causes a lot of rifts and a lot of tensions within the film. And the main tension is between him and his mother. And then also the spill-off tension is between him and the woman who wants to make him her husband, right? Let's get one more group before we move on. Or one more comment, I should say. Ryan, what did your group talk about?
So we talked about for the first question, the film relates to the theme covered by so pretty much about African enslavement and about like how like in the movie how like she got like to see how her ancestor was treated and everything. And then for the second question, I didn't really get what was asking, to be honest. The third, oh sorry, were you saying something?
I was gonna say, like, so one thing, if you, and this is not just to you, Ryan, this is like across the board, right? When I place these questions in the chat and I go over these questions and I ask you all, is there understanding of the questions? Is there things that you need me to further articulate? That would be a good time to say, you know, I didn't understand number two. So at least that way I could clarify it for you. And then I could provide you, then that would allow you guys to get engaged in a conversation within the breakout rooms. But go ahead, Ryan, what are you gonna say about question 3?
Yeah, I got you. Okay, number 3, what stood out me about the film the most was how like almost every different like slaves, they have like different accent. Yeah. That was
so so you're attentive to the different African ethnic groups that make up the plantation society, right? So that's a very good call out, because this adds to this idea of creolization, which is this notion of mixing, and language is a very large byproduct of that creolization. So the title of the film is called Sankofa. Has anybody heard, outside of the film, of course, has anybody heard of this term Sankofa?
Yes.
Zuri, can you, what have you heard of Sankofa before?
All I really know, like, is that it's tweet, I want to say. It's connected to, is that incorrect?
It's actually Akan. It's Akan. But so Twi and Akan are both spoken in Ghana. That's why I was kind of like, it's right, but it's, you know, kind of.
Okay. That's really, but yeah, that was really all I thought of.
Yeah. So let me pull up something real quick for John. So if you look here, this is what's called the Sankofa bird. And if you notice, he's looking backwards, right? But his body is moving forward. And what becomes important is like this little egg here. And the symbolism of the Sankofa bird, or this concept of Sankofa, is to return to the past and bring that knowledge with you into the present as you move forward into your future. And the egg in the bird's mouth, it symbolizes that knowledge, right? So again, look to the past, bring that knowledge with you into the present as you move forward, right? So how does this idea or this notion of Sankofa relate to what's going on in the film with the main character?
I kind of saw it as so like she's in the future before she's taken back to the past, and she kind of starts to understand what her ancestors went through. And then with that like knowledge she gets throughout the movie, she ends up taking that with her like when she goes back.
Yeah. That's it, Zuri. Like you're spot on, bro. Like, so think about what's happening, right? When you open into, when you get the opening scene, the protagonist is in a photo shoot, right? And she's on she's at what they call the door of no return. And this is the enslavement plan, actually not even a plantation. It's an enslavement dungeon on the west coast of Africa. And they're doing a photo shoot there. And right, scandalous photo shoot. I put the air quotes because that's scandalous for the 90s. In our modern time, you know, it's really no big deal. But she's confronted with an elder from the dungeon, and he's playing the drums, and he's telling her to go back, go back, go back. And she's transfixed to the past, as Zuri points out, right? And she's in population with those who are also enslaved. And she begins to experience the experiences of enslavement, right? So she's taken from her present to the past. But to Zuri's point, right, it's the future, it's considered the future for those who are in the past, right? And as he articulates perfectly, she takes the knowledge that she gained from those experiences of enslavement and it moves her forward to where at the end of the movie, she's not the same person who she was at the beginning of the movie doing the photo shoot, right? So this is how this idea, this is how this notion of Sankofa is really central to the film. As I mentioned, the term Sankofa is an Akan term, right? An Akan is an ethnic group in Ghana. It's a language in Ghana, but most importantly, it's a spiritual tradition in Ghana. Just like you have Ifa out of Nigeria or Candomblé that comes out of South America, the Akan tradition is a spiritual system that is prevalent in West Africa, particularly Ghana and Senegal, certain parts of Nigeria, right? So if you think about the character Nunu in the film, right? She is an Akan. She has the connection to her African past. She is the conduit for African spirituality, right? So we'll think about when they would leave the plantation houses and meet in the forest, she was often the one leading the ceremonies, right? She is the direct link for those who were enslaved in the Americas back to their African past, right? You think about when the impregnated woman who was hung and she's killed, but it's the prayers of Nunu tapping into her African spiritual tradition that keeps that baby alive, right? So this notion of the Akan is central implicitly through the film and through the title of the film, but more explicitly through the work of Nunu. And more importantly, right, it shows how this African spirituality is a premier source for rebellion, right? The premier source for engaging in violence, and I wouldn't even call it violence, I would call it self-defense. I would call it a liberatory practice, right? They would have those spiritual meetings before they would have those spiritual meetings, and they would use those spiritual meetings to plan out how they would go about earning their liberation, right? Shango, I would say he's the male protagonist, right? The brother from the West Indies. This is also an implicit nod to African spiritual traditions. Give me 1 second. So Shango is a Yoruba god. Yoruba is an African spiritual tradition out of Nigeria. Here's an image of Shango. And he's known as the god of war, also the god of iron. If you notice in the film, Shango always had his machete with him, right? Shango, as legend has it from an African Yoruba spiritual tradition standpoint, when Shango was called into battle, no one survives. Shango has no reason. Shango doesn't listen to anything. Once he has been called into the battlefield, no one will survive. Everyone's losing their head is how the legend would go when it comes to Shango. His brother is Ogun, Ogun is also known as a god of war, but Ogun has a little bit of wisdom to him. Ogun will listen and kind of determine how fierce he would have to do when it comes to battle. But Shango doesn't have that ability to listen and try to figure out what's the best way to approach it. His solution is always bloodshed, right? And if you think about Shango in the film, he was always with the shits, right? He's always ready to use his machete. And you see that directly reflected from the African god from the Yoruba tradition, Shango. So the maker of the film does a phenomenal job of explicitly and implicitly integrating these African spiritual traditions and phenomenon within the film. Is there any other questions, comments, or thoughts about the film? Just general thoughts about the film is okay. Okay. So what I would want to do with the remainder of the course, I just want to kind of talk about what you all feel could be done better, right? We're at the halfway point at this mark. I always like to do like these check-in conversations. This is in attempts for me to improve my pedagogical practice with you all, right? So this is an opportunity for you to give me feedback and talk about things that we could do better or would make the experience more edifying for you. Don't worry about pissing me off. Don't worry about hurting my feelings. That's not what this is. I'm asking for this feedback. I'm asking you to be honest. I'm asking it to be fearless. Know that it will not come with any type of repercussion. I just genuinely want to know what is working well or what is not working for you. And if it's really not working for you, we could do away with it, right? And I mean that very sincerely. So I say all that to say, don't miss an opportunity to improve on your educational experience. I don't know how many professors are going to ask you for a chance to critique or alter the way that the course is going in the middle of the semester. As I mentioned, I believe that education is exchange, and this is another opportunity for you to imprint how this educational experience will look and feel for you. I'm open to hearing what is going well, but I'm more interested in what could be done better. Does anyone care to share how we can improve the class experience?
Can I share?
Yeah, please.
Okay. I was thinking to see more like documentaries of like historical African figures and like more in depth like their culture.
So you're saying, I'm sorry, documentaries on like African singers? Is that what you said?
Yeah, like our like historical figures that we don't know.
Okay.
That we haven't like got. Yeah.
Okay. We do like, so how I typically design the semester, Melanie, is uploaded with a lot of reading. And then as we get later into the semester, there will be more documentaries. We're moving more contemporary. So we're getting into like the 60s, the 70s, 80s, and what have you. So will be looking at phenomenon that happens a little bit more recently. I know we have a film on the South Central Rebellion of '92. I believe there's a couple of other films in there that we'll watch. There'll be one on gang culture that we'll watch. So there will be more documentaries, but they're going to be more about phenomenon opposed to individuals themselves. But definitely a good call out. Anybody else?
Maybe like more readings on African spirituality, like prior to colonization.
More reading on African spirituality?
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know what? So more stuff like the Teachings of Ptah-hotep, more of that type of material.
Yes.
Okay. I got that. I wrote that down for sure, Zuri. The only thing is like the way that I have the course designed, it's like a genealogy almost. So it's going to move from temporal epics, and we've kind of gotten past that. But what I can do is I could provide you some more materials that deal with that subject matter if you like.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead.
Anybody? Oh, no, I was saying thank you.
Oh, okay. Bet. You're welcome, man. Anybody else?
I don't know if you could hear me,
Okay.
but I enjoy the course in general. I think it's, personally, in my opinion, I'm really into it. Like, I actually like the things we cover. Very interesting, and like I never really feel lost. And yeah, I don't know. Like to improve, it's really hard to say because honestly, I feel like, and I still like remember everything. Like honestly, like from the midterms and doing the journals, like I just want to say, maybe I don't have anything to dislike, but I really like the way we get to share our own opinions and experiences within what we're learning. And I feel like that helps learn better, I guess. And, you know, yeah, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Connie. I appreciate that, man. Alfonso, I also saw you in the chat as well, so I appreciate that also. Anybody else? All right. Raphael, what could we do to improve the class for you, man?
So far, it seems you coming to coming here.
Raphael, can you do me a favor? Can you put that in the chat? You're kind of breaking up on me. Carlos, while Raphael places that in the chat, what can I do to make the experience better for you? Carlos Bonilla, we're waiting on you. If you're gonna
in my opinion, everything is going good so far. Probably more I don't know, like probably more videos, probably on the lectures for some journals.
So you're saying more videos instead of readings, or more videos to accompany the lecture?
The last part you say.
Okay, so more videos to accompany the lecture. Okay, I'll think about
Yes.
ways I could do that. I'll make a point of that.
Thank you.
Okay. Melanie, did you share how we can make the class better for you?
Yes. It
Okay.
was about like adding more documentaries.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Ryan, if you could speak to how we can make the course better for you.
I'll be honest, I think this course is going pretty good compared to the last Pan-African study class I took. So
okay, cool. What was the last Pan-African studies class you took?
I don't know. He's pretty old. I forgot his name. I don't want to give out names too.
Okay. I heard from Carney already. Michelle Morales, how can I make the course better for you?
There's not much. It's good how it is right now.
Okay. Michelle Martin, how can I make the course better for you?
I really enjoy this class, but maybe I would say maybe when it comes to the breakout rooms, maybe we could like have like an assigned breakout room, because or are they assigned? Because I did have a couple different group members before. Maybe just having like a set group.
So having the same people in the group all the time, you're saying?
Yeah, so I get pretty comfortable fast.
My only reluctation to do that is I would like you kind of to discuss with other people, right? Like, because you know what I mean? Like, if you can only have the same 4 people in your group, you're only going to know those 4 people. Whereas if you're meeting different people within the course, you have a broader, connection and linkage with your peers. The I do the breakout rooms is to create a space where it's peer-to-peer learning. And that's why I don't jump in the breakout rooms to make sure things are going well. I just want to create a space just for you all as scholars to have communication. So does that kind of understand as to why I kind of keep it random as far as who you link with?
Yeah, it makes sense. But besides that, everything in this class is pretty good though.
Okay, thank you, Ms.
Yeah.
Snow. I've heard from Alfonso, I heard from Zuri. Daniel Gomez, how can we make the course better for you? Looking at the chat, he says more videos instead of reading. I hear you, Daniel, but just to be real, I'm gonna give you a real blunt critique. That shit sound lazy, right? Like, it's one thing to have videos to support the lectures, like I get that, but to supplement the readings for the videos, right? To me, it's like I just don't want to read, right? And I don't give you a lot of work. There's not a lot of homework, but I do have a very high demand on reading. Reason being, as a society, Western culture, specifically American culture, is anti-intellectual, and we are being socialized through technology not to be readers, right? To get quick tidbits of information and think that we read an article because you read the heading of the article, right? So part of the me having you all read is, one, to situate you as good scholars, and two, to kind of get us away from this intellectual stagnation that we're in as a society. So there will be more videos as we continue within the semester, but as far as replacing videos with readings, you know, it's very intentional why I have us read at the capacity that we do. For those who are going on to grad school, for those who are looking to do PhD work, you are literally, so let's just say you have 3 classes, right? In my PhD program, I had 3 classes a semester. You would be assigned a whole book to read a week, right? So how I give you an article to read and we'll come back next week, they'll give you a whole book, be like, read this whole book and come back next week and we'll talk about it. So think about that with 3 courses. So you're reading 3 entire books in 1 week, right? So that's the type of intellectual rigor that you could expect going into grad school, especially if you're looking to a PhD. So if I'm doing my job of preparing you for that type of experience, I couldn't in good conscience replace videos with the readings. Matthew, how can I make the course better for you?
There's not much. I'm really enjoying the way you have the course structure. Like, it's pretty straightforward and easy to understand. So everything's pretty much good for me as it goes, making it easier.
Okay, thank you, Matthew. Destiny, how can I improve the course for you?
Me, right?
Yes, yes, you.
Okay. I feel like the course was fine as like by itself because you were a really good teacher and like you actually provided guidance.
Okay. Thank you.
So I would make no changes.
All right, I appreciate that. Diana, how could we improve the course for you?
To be honest, I don't really have any complaints, but something that would be like nice, I guess, would be to like incorporate like pictures that you find that are like related to the readings, I guess. Like I feel like that would be cool.
Okay, pictures. So maybe I could incorporate photo slides along with, you know, short video clips to accompany the lecture. So I wrote that down. Gerson, how can we improve the course for you?
Like many people have said, the course is I feel like it's amazing. Because honestly, we read an article and then we come back and we are talking with you about the article, and I really like that part because, you know, we might have a point of view of the reading, but then you give us a like a broader point of view, or maybe an even better point of view, and I think that's very fun, like fundamental, because you are our teacher and, you know, you are like our guide in a sense, and I really like that part of the course.
Perfect. Well, that's all I really have for y'all today. I wrote down all of your recommendations, and I'm going to try to incorporate as best as possible what you recommended, and I know that, you know, once the semester is over with, you're out of my class and out of this space. But I really do take your suggestions and I incorporate them through the rest of my teaching. So I would argue and I would bet that if you were to take me again, you will probably see a lot of what you suggested being incorporated into that next course, because I really do take this to heart. One thing I will say, with us transitioning back in person for the fall, like I'm gonna have to restructure the whole flow of class, because I really designed this for a Zoom format. So if you do have me in the future, it may feel a little bit different just because we'll be in person, but it will be a collective experience, and we'll kind of build what that looks and feels like together as well. I know you are all going into spring break. Enjoy that, be healthy, be safe, get some exercise if possible, but rest up, man. Try to enjoy yourself, try to do something fun, try to just enjoy this time off. I'm open if you need me for anything, please send me a line. But if I'm a little bit slow getting back to you, just understand that I'm dealing with that test, right? So I'm really gonna be kind of shutting down for a week to knock this out. But if it's something pressing, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Other than that, you all be healthy, be wealthy, be wise, get your exercise, get your water, get your vitamin D. Appreciate you, Carlos. Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, Ryan.
Thank you,
All right,
Professor.
Melanie. You're welcome.